In medieval Europe, there apparently lived a young woman named Elisa Day, whose beauty was like that of the wild roses that grew down the river, all bloody and red. One day, a young man came into town and instantly fell in love with Elisa. They dated for 3 days. On the first day, he visited her at her house. On the second, he brought her a single red rose and asked her to meet him where the wild roses grow. On the third day, he took her down to the river where he killed her. The horrible man supposedly waited till her back was turned, then took a rock in his fist, whispering, "All beauty must die," and with one swift blow, he killed her instantly. He placed a rose between her teeth, and slid her body into the river. Some people claimed to have seen her ghost wandering the riverside, blood running down the side of her head, a single rose in her hand. This urban legend comes from Sydney, Australia, and features a bizarre story regarding a choking Doberman dog. One night, a couple who had been out for a few too many drinks came home to find their dog choking in the living room. The man panicked and fainted, but the woman decided to call her old friend, a vet, and arranged to drop the dog off at the vet clinic. After dropping off the dog, she decides to go home and get her husband into bed. It takes her a while to do this, and in the meantime, the phone rings. The vet screams hysterically that they need to get out of the house immediately. So without any clue as to what's going on, the couple leave the house as quickly as possible. As they come down the stairs, several policemen run up to meet them. When the woman asks what the problem is, a policeman gently tells her that the dog was choking on a man's finger. A burglar must still be present in their home. Soon enough, the former owner of the finger is found unconscious in the bedroom. The vanishing hitchhiker, or variations such as the ghostly hitchhiker, the disappearing hitchhiker, the phantom hitchhiker, or simply the hitchhiker story, is an urban legend in which people traveling by vehicle meet with or are accompanied by a hitchhiker who subsequently vanishes without explanation, often from a moving vehicle. Vanishing hitchhikers have been reported for centuries, and the story is found across the world, with many variants. This story, also known as the boyfriend's death, has many different variations and has been interpreted as a more generalized warning not to stray too far from the safety of home. Our version takes us to Paris in the 1960s. A girl and her boyfriend, both of them college students, are making out in his car. They have parked near the forest of Rambouillet so that they won't be seen by anyone. When they're finished, the boy gets out to take some fresh air and smoke a cigarette, and the girl waits for him in the safety of the car. After waiting for 5 minutes, the girl gets out of the car to look for her boyfriend. Suddenly, she sees a man in the shadows. Frightened, she gets back into the car to drive away, but as she does this, she hears a very faint squeak, followed by more squeaks. This continues for a few seconds, until the girl decides that she has no choice but to drive off. She hits the gas as hard as possible, but can't go anywhere. Someone has tied a rope from the bumper of the car to a nearby tree. Finally, the girl slams on the gas again and then hears a loud scream. She gets out of the car and realizes that her boyfriend is hanging from the tree. It turns out that the squeaky noises were made by his shoes, scraping across the top of the car. Fortunato Zanfretta's abduction story has become one of the most famous urban legends in Italy over the last few decades. According to his own accounts, originally made while under hypnosis, Zanfretta was abducted by aliens called Dragos from the planet Titonia, and experienced repeated abductions by the same group over a period of several years, 1978 to 1981. As frightening or creepy as this case might sound, it seems like we can paint a more optimistic picture of the intentions of these visitors when we consider the words of Zanfretta during one hypnosis section: "I know you are trying to come more frequently. No, you can't come to Earth, people get scared if they look at you. You can't make friendship. Please go." Zanfretta has probably given more details about his alien abduction than any other person in history. His detailed accounts may cause even the most vehement skeptic to pause for thought. To this day, the Zanfretta case remains one of the most curious and fascinating X-Files around the world. There is a legend in Japan and China about a girl called Kuchizai Kana, also known as the Slit-Mouthed Woman. Some say that she was a samurai's wife. One day, she cheated on her husband with a younger and better-looking man. When the husband returned, he discovered her betrayal. Enraged and furious, he took his sword and slit her mouth ear to ear. Some say that the woman was cursed to never die, and still wanders the world so that people can see the horrible scar on her face and pity her. Some people claim that others have actually seen a very beautiful young lady, who asked them, "Am I pretty?" And once they replied positively, she ripped off the surgical mask, and showed them her horrible wound. She then asked the same question, and anyone who no longer found her pretty was met by tragic death from her hands. There are two morals to this story: a compliment won't cost you a thing, and honesty isn't necessarily the best policy. This urban legend says a little boy died because surgeons found ants in his brain. Apparently this boy had fell asleep with some sweet stuff beside him. Ants soon got to him, and some ants in fact crawled into his ear, which somehow managed to go to his brain. When he woke up, he did not realize that ants had gone to his head. After that, he constantly complains about itchiness around his face. His mother brought him to see a doctor, but the doctor could not figure out what was wrong with him. He took an X-ray of the boy, and to his horror, he found a group of live ants in his skull. Since the ants are still live, the doctor could not operate on him because the ants are constantly moving about. The boy at last died. So please be careful when leaving foodstuff beside your bed or when eating in bed. This might attract ants. Most importantly, never eat a sweet before going to bed. You might fall asleep and suffer same fate as the little boy. Bloody Mary is a folklore legend consisting of a ghost, phantom or spirit conjured to reveal the future. She is said to appear in a mirror when her name is called 3 times. The Bloody Mary apparition may be benign or malevolent, depending on historic variations of the legend. The Bloody Mary appearances are mostly witnessed in group participation play. In the ritual of today, Bloody Mary allegedly appears to individuals or groups who ritualistically invoke her name in an act of katoptromancy. This is done by repeatedly chanting her name in a mirror placed in a dimly lit or candle-lit room. The Bloody Mary apparition allegedly appears as a corpse, a witch or ghost, can be friendly or evil, and is sometimes seen covered in blood. The lore surrounding the ritual states that participants may endure the apparition screaming at them, cursing them, strangling them, stealing their soul, drinking their blood, or scratching their eyes. Sometime in 1989, Russian scientists in Siberia drilled a borehole some 14.5 kilometers deep into the Earth's crust. The drill broke through into a cavity, and the scientists lowered some equipment to see what was down there. The temperature was more than 1000 degrees Celsius, but the real shocker was the sound recorded by their instruments. They only captured about 17 horrifying seconds of audio before the microphone melted. Convinced that they'd heard the screams of the damned in hell, many of the scientists quit the job immediately, or so at least the story goes. Those who stayed were in for an even bigger shock later that night. A plume of luminous gas burst out of the borehole, the shape of a gigantic winged demon unfolded, and the words "I have conquered" in Russian were seared into the flames. Even though today it is considered to be a hoax, there are many who believe that this incident really happened. The well-to-hell urban legend remains alive to this day. Black-eyed children or black-eyed kids are an urban legend of paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16, with pale skin and black eyes, who are reportedly seen hitchhiking or panhandling, or are encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. They might knock on your door on a late, quiet night at your home, or if you're out, they might approach your car while you're stopped. They might seem to be in need of your help, or they might just want to come in for no clear reason. They won't look threatening, mere children, in fact. But they do want to come in. They may give you this excuse or that one, but no matter what you say, they will persist. They must get in. And you will say no. You will say no because they are not quite right, their eyes are black. Pure black. From lid to lid, dead black orbs devoid of sclera or iris will send a chill up your spine. They are the black-eyed kids,